Today, we have the principal of Shrewsbury International School, Hong Kong with us, Mr. Ben Keeling. Welcome. So congratulations on entering your 5th academic year.
Thank you. Yeah, a long time.
Do you remember that when we first met, we were in the office in Central looking at the 3D construction model of the school?
I do vaguely. I was actually, when we were walking around earlier on, I was trying to think a little bit about where we were and when it was. Because of course during the foundation phase, I met a lot of people. And I was in role as founding principal for 18 months, I think, before the school opened, so for a long time. And you reminded me.
Almost 2 years before
Correct.
The school officially opened.
Yeah.
And could you talk a little in general about how the school has changed over this time?
Well, there's not a lot about the school that hasn't changed over the full time. So I've been employed by the school for almost 6 years. So 1.5 years pre-operation, and then 4.5 years with the school open. And of course, we're in the midst of our 5th year. And Vivian, over the course of that full span, everything has changed. Because when I first arrived, there was no school. It was a car park, and there was a little a ticker tape sort of entry system. And of course, over the full course of 18 months, we met with architects, and we were working with the site team, and we developed the campus that you see today. And I think I met you just before the school was ready in a small office in Central.
Back in that time, like, there are no kids.
No children.
Yeah, no children.
No, but maybe a team of, I don't know, 6 or 7 grown-ups.
But today, everywhere. I see children everywhere. They're running around.
Children are all over the place now, thankfully. But when we first met, we were in an office. The school was under construction, and then I know that you came back to the school after construction, but before the first school day. So you would have seen a very pretty and clean building.
Yeah. Very clean.
And here we are 5 years later, and we were walking around and looking at the display and listening to the noises of children, the laughter, the learning, the conversation that's taking place.
And I see the school bus are everywhere, the toys are everywhere, workers are everywhere. Oh,
so we've moved from a sort of a very clean, tidy position to a sort of gloriously chaotic, organised but chaotic life on campus.
I enjoyed 2 days tour much more, I would say.
I hope so.
The children enjoying the time at, in different classrooms.
Children here love learning. They're really driven, really dedicated towards learning, and our teachers work with them in very diligently, but also in very creative ways to make sure that they're challenged and engaged. Engaged is good, challenged is good, but great schooling is about both. You need challenge, you need to make sure that children are driven in the right direction, but you also need them to be engaged in what they're learning about. They understand the context, that they're feeling confident and assured of their subject matter, that they are secured by good relationships, positive relationships. We spoke a little bit this morning about building relationships as well. We've done a lot of work on that front. So the journey of 6 years, we've gone from no building, no children, no school, to the fabrication of a building, and then the development of everything that comes with an outstanding school. Great relationships, strongly founded curriculum, high aspiration, great attainment, and a journey beyond us. Our commitment to children is not only between the ages of 3 and 11, we're committed to children and their families for their lifetime. We care about them before they turn up to see us, we care about them after they leave, and we keep in really good contact with all members of our community, future, current, past.
And I think, Ben, one thing remains the same, will always be your passion, especially on running a school exclusively designed for young learners. Could you expand the advantages, that arise from such specific purpose?
Well, yes, I can, because this is my life. My life is poured into this school. We saw my son earlier on in EY2 singing.
4 years old.
4 years old. This is my other child, right? This school. So I believe.
And this is the oldest.
This is a slightly older child. You're right, and slightly more cantankerous actually. But this is another real commitment of mine, and I believe wholeheartedly and fundamentally in the influence of primary education first and foremost. So, why set out on this endeavour? Because of course it is, perhaps you might argue, a little more complicated than a through train offering might have been. but I believe so strongly that the education of young people needs to be presented as a priority in the context of their lives. And we know this to be true. We know that an affected childhood, or the experiences of your childhood, will have a seismic and likely unchangeable impact upon the quality of your adult life. The relationships you share, your academia, your income, your report of happiness, you know, everything about your life is essentially shaped by the experiences you have as a young child. So for me, within a through-train system, primary education is so often compromised. So everything that is special, everything that is unique about Shrewsbury School here in Hong Kong derives as a result of our commitment to young people. So every space, every opportunity, every experience, every relationship here is founded upon placing the young child in a position of priority. They're not an afterthought. They're not someone who shares spaces or who has to suffer compromise. They're positioned as the point of greatest priority. This is, from my perspective, of course, teachers, teaching assistants, and other learners in the school, but also at a governing body level, from an investor level, from those involved at the school at a much more strategic viewpoint. Everyone involved in this organisation, in this school, in this community, is driven exclusively by the interests of young children, what is right for young children, what is good for young children, and what we believe is going to set them up for a very successful adulthood.
And I think I would strongly recommend parents to come for a school tour, because if you have a look at the swimming pool, the dining hall, and how they design the science lab, you will see how facilities or structures were, you know, in a very thoughtful way designed for young kids or young students. And I think that means a lot, because it is not a shared space with the senior students, but a space designed exclusively for students who need more attention at such a young age. So I think I would recommend those interesting families do come and have a school tour and feel yourself. The other thing that I would like to ask is, you know, I guess a lot of parents will ask the same question: is what happens after primary? Where do your Year 6 graduates move on to, and how does Shrewsbury, support the transition?
Well, the answer to that question actually is very simple. We were talking earlier on about where graduates go, most common pathways, which schools might mums and dads prefer or tend to opt into, maybe habitually here. And there is no pattern, because the programme offered here for students and for families choosing their Year 7 place, their secondary school place, is so individualised. So there is no single point of destination. Our children travel all over Hong Kong and beyond Hong Kong. And so in direct answer to your question, where do children go? Where do children go after Year 6 at Shrewsbury? My simplest answer to you is they go wherever they want. The parent chooses, the child chooses, the school supports and informs that decision, and then together we obtain that place. We work together in quite a united fashion through a programme of consultation that lasts approximately 3 years. So we dip in and out of the lives of families over the course of 3 years.
And that kind of exploration period from Year 4.
Correct,
actually.
yes. So the first point of the journey is to explore. Lots of our parents think they know about what is available. And sometimes we need to address misconceptions or misunderstandings. There are lots of common misunderstandings, misconceptions that arise during that process. But exploration is the first phase. What are you looking for? What is available? Where are you likely to be? And then the next phase, we move beyond exploration into selection, where we're starting to think perhaps a bit more purposefully about the child and the family and their limitation. So first of all, we explore what is available, and we do the groundwork of study. The second phase is to start to isolate 2, 3, 4, 5 institutions of interest, and then we purposefully drive towards a selection of maybe 2 or 3, place application, and lead them towards successful placement into Year 7.
Well, since my last visit, I'm aware that the Packed Hall School in Shropshire has joined the Shrewsbury families of schools. Can you share with us a little bit more about your relationship with the UK and Bangkok?
Sure. So we're a pretty close-knit family, I would say. We're a small group. We're not one of the models of schools that you see with 30, 40 members. We're a small, very interconnected group. We share infrastructural interests. We share interests at governor body level, at investor level, and increasingly at an educational level. So Packwood Hall in particular is an interesting addition to the group. Essentially, Packwood for many years was a preparatory school that fed Shrewsbury. And a couple of years ago now, I think, they were brought into the group more formally. So Packwood Hall students are technically Shrewsbury Prep students, which means that when children leave us and depart for the UK, in most cases they go to Packwood for 2 years. Oh, it's a preparatory school.
It's like a bridging school.
It's a bridging school, correct. And as a result, it means that children leave us from their family, from Hong Kong, from lots of familiar social connections, into a much smaller and more pastorally centred preparatory school. And over the course of their 2 years, they learn about life in the UK. They learn about life away from their family. They learn about British culture. They're also academically oriented towards the programme of study that awaits them at 13. And then at the age of 13, when they transfer into Shrewsbury School, they do so with a real sense of purpose, pride, and they're not alone, most importantly. Because over the course of their 2 years of preparatory education, they develop friendships and social relationships and connections, interconnections with other children. And they're moving through then as a
although
as a
the
cohort.
environment is new, but the friends, you know,
correct. So the journey into a secondary school, and Vivian, I don't know when you were last in the UK, but secondary schools there are huge, much bigger than Hong Kong-based secondary schools. Shrewsbury School occupies many acres of space. It has parkland and fields and multiple buildings and a driveway through the facility. You know, it's enormous, like a village in itself. And that can be quite overwhelming for children if that is your first point of landing from Hong Kong,
and
of all places.
Especially when you're alone.
Correct. If you're travelling from Hong Kong at the age of 13, there are so many points of disadvantage or risk. You're on your own for the first time. You're leaving the comfort of your home and the comfort of your family and the comfort of your social surroundings for the first time. And the risk is that you land in a space that is too different. There are too many things for that young person to cope with and to ascertain and to understand. Moving into a prep school resolves that issue. It's a prep education in the UK, preparatory education, is essentially fundamentally pastorally centred. It's about finding the child's grounding in their relationships and understanding of themselves in relation to other people. They're smaller, more inclusive environments, more forgiving environments, very much, again, settled upon the lives and experiences of young people. Secondary education is much more about the drive towards academic success. It's much more about your IB score or about the A-levels you obtain. It's much more about university education and graduation. It's about the academic success of that child. Preparatory education, primary education, is a much more holistic affair. It's about the development of the child as a student, as a young person, as a young adult in prep education. So that the distinction in purpose, I think, is also important. When we spoke earlier on about the advantages of sending your child to a primary-specific, primary-centred school, part of it is about facility. Part of it is about the prioritisation and the familiarity of the grown-ups that surround you. Part of it. The other part is safety, nurture, the softness of the environment. My 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds don't need to worry about adolescence. They don't need to worry about teenage relationships. They don't need to worry about otherwise interested adults frequenting their spaces and their lives. They're only surrounded by other young people or adults that really care about young people. So their experience here is safe and nurturing and inclusive, and it makes for a really glorious environment. You've walked around today yourself, and you can feel that sort of sincere hubbub of the sort of social hubbub that comes with interconnection across the years, a sense of trust and inclusion. There's a real sense of community and connection. There's a real coherence to the relationships that we share, and it makes for an incredibly nurturing experience. Of course, children aren't children forever, and eventually they do need to start readying themselves for more challenging engagements. This is where secondary schools have their own place. But the construct of a primary school safeguards young children from the complexities of adulthood, or the complexities of early adulthood at least.
I think there would be lifelong influence to them as well.
There's no doubt about it. You know, our childhoods shape us, for better or worse. You know, your experiences between the age of 0 years old and 5 years old have a known impact upon your outlook as a grown-up. And of course, as a child, you have no control over those experiences, not really.
You share a lot about your vision back in 5 years ago, and today it is more meaningful because to see your actions like come into place. And back to Hong Kong, like I saw from your LinkedIn that the team has joined the charity work from at the Chung Kwan O Bridge. What is the positive impact that with the opening of the Chung Kwan O Bridge may bring to the school?
Well, first of all, it was lovely to do the walk because it was raising funds for a charity, you know, wonderful charity, lovely, you know, sort of purposeful undertaking. Number two, it connected us with the Lohas Park community, and we are here in Chung Kwan O, representing Chung Kwan O, part of the Lohas Park community, and looking to have a positive impact upon the people around us. The people that come to our school, of course, but also the community that don't come to our school. We want to be a positive presence here. So it was lovely to take part in the walk. The opening of the bridge is really significant for our families. Most of our children, no, that's not true. Many of our children live in Chung Kwan O. About half, actually. The other half do not live in Chung Kwan O.
Exactly. Just now I asked you, they come from...
They come from everywhere.
Yeah, exactly, even from the island.
Oh, about 40%, 35 to 40% of our students live on Hong Kong Island. Now, for the children that do live on Hong Kong Island, that currently come to our school, and of course for the many children on Hong Kong Island that don't yet come to our school, the bridge is a completely changing...
How long does it take before?
So currently, so the bridge is not officially open. It opens to the public on the 11th of December.
Oh, okay.
So when the bridge opens in about, where are we? About 3 weeks. When the bridge opens, it will reduce travel time between Central and Chung Kwan O by 15 minutes.
So how long does it take at the moment?
Today, it would take you 35 minutes.
From Central?
From Central to here.
Like how about after, like in the future?
About 20 minutes.
Wow, that is
now,
impressive.
If you happen to live on this side of Central, and many of our children do, Admiralty, Wan Chai, Quarry Bay will be about 8, 10, 12 minutes away. So the bridge is
10 minutes away from Quarry Bay.
Yes.
It will be even faster.
So currently,
for me to come from the school.
Yes, actually, it will take me further from Sai Kung.
Yeah, from
Quarry Bay, honestly. So the journey round to Quarry Bay, the bridge essentially means that people travelling into Chung Kwan O don't need to travel through Chung Kwan O city centre. So for people travelling into Lohas Park, they don't need to travel through Chung Kwan O Centre.
So now there's one more option.
Yes.
And I noticed that, which is a good news, that there are much more school buses.
Yes, there are. School bus, the network of school buses grows every year, actually. It's quite interesting to watch it expand as our population expands, of course. As I mentioned, lots of our children come from Chung Kwan O. The bridge is also going to help traffic in Chung Kwan O, of course, because all of the traffic that used to drive through it will now come across the bridge. So everyone wins with the bridge. But the children who don't live in Chung Kwan O live on the south side of the island. We have children in Stanley. I have children in Pok Fu Lam. I have children in Sha Tin. I have children everywhere. But you must then, I suppose, reflect upon why that might be. Why does a child travel from Pok Fu Lam to come to a school in Lohas Park? Because it's a long journey, Vivian, it's a really long way. And there's only one explanation. And it's because that child, that family, understand that we offer something here that no one else is able to. So if a mum or a dad believes and understands the impact that an exceptionally high quality education can have on the life of a young person, if they really believe it, there is only one school that they can attend, and it's this one.
And you know, like, I think today I'm so glad to witness the growth of Shrewsbury School within, you know, this period of time. And then just now we also mentioned, I think we should continue to discuss more about topics like, for example, British curriculum in the future. So I'm so glad to witness the growth of Shrewsbury within, you know, this couple of years of time, and I would recommend those interested families to come and attend a school tour with them. All right, see you.
Bye.